Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. So today I have 5 angsty book recommendations for you. So if you are new here or you have never watched another of my videos, you will know that I love angst in everything. It is my favorite thing to read. If someone says something is incredibly angsty, I will likely pick it up just because that's what I love reading about. It's what gets me the most connected to a book is the angst level in it. And these are just some of the angsty books that I have. The first book that I have to recommend for you is called Clash. Now this is a rockstar romance, and I'm not usually a rockstar romance person, but hear me out. This is about our hero who is the drummer or the guitarist or something in a band, and our heroine incidentally ends up becoming the PA for the band, and they have this like push and pull relationship. The hero seems very infatuated with the heroine, but they never really, like, they push for more, but they never really act on those feelings. We get them on tour, her doing her job and all of that, and then they eventually end up splitting because of something that the hero does. And the hero falls into his addiction. He's over here dealing with his addiction, just kind of falling down. He goes to prison. Heroine over here is living her best life. She gets a PA position for another band, and so they eventually end up meshing back together, and she has to help him kind of pick himself back up again through the help of therapy and rehab and all of those kinds of things. But this was incredibly angsty. Obviously you have your hero who is dealing with addiction, and the heroine who in the beginning of the book is very much like a mousy, meek character who hasn't really had all that many experiences, and she is thrust into this very toxic and high energy life and into these high energy relationships that can be a little bit toxic themselves, and it just makes for a bundle of angst amongst all of the characters, but especially the hero and the heroine. And if the heroine being meek and mild thing doesn't really appeal to you, she becomes a complete badass. So my next angsty recommendation for you is The Fire Between High and Low. This is part of Brittainy Cherry's Elements series. In the beginning of the book, they start out as teenagers, and our hero is from a poor family, and he is addicted to drugs, and so is his mother, and his father abuses them. The heroine is from a wealthy family, but her father up and ran off, and she doesn't really know where he is. He won't contact her, he won't reach back out to her. Her mom is very disconnected. She works all the time, and she doesn't seem to really care about what our heroine wants or needs. And so the hero and the heroine kind of find solace in each other. They become best friends, and they eventually start dating. And then something incredibly tragic happens to the heroine that separates the two. You are dealing with your hero who is dealing with drug addiction. He goes to rehab. And the heroine who has always felt a little bit out of place, who has never really felt a love connection to anyone, whether that be family, friends, or whatever, and they kind of have to find their way back to each other. So my next angsty recommendation for you is actually historical, and that is Someone to Watch Over Me. This is a amnesia story about a woman who is found in the river in London by a Bow Street runner who is basically like a cop at that time, and he brings her back to his house to take care of her and kind of bring her back her memories, but she cannot remember anything. She can't remember her name or who she was, but the hero does. He had a previous interaction with her, and he knows that she is a local sex worker, and they had a very bad first interaction, but this heroine seems to be totally different than the person that he knew prior to, and this is kind of them reclaiming her memories and finding out who she is, but also who is out to get her. And this is incredibly angsty because the hero has these two different versions of who he thinks the heroine is in his head, and he also is a little morally uptight, and so her previous profession puts him off a little bit, but he feels this inexplicable draw to her. He sees that she feels like a different person, and she doesn't seem like this cold and callous person that he knew before. So this is absolutely beautiful. This is one of the first books, historical romance books, that I read that really got me into the genre and got me to love the genre. And it is angsty, it's gritty, and you're dealing with a lot of moral dilemmas with your characters, and it's just perfect. Another recommendation that I have for you is also a historical romance, and that is Wicked Intentions. This is the first book in the Maiden Lane series. I recently read this, and it's 5 out of 5 stars, so good. So I will say the majority of the angst that I feel around this in the atmosphere and also their relationship. So this is about the heroine who runs a local orphanage in St. Giles, and St. Giles is this poor area where all of the like sex trafficking and drugs and all of that is kind of run through here. And in the beginning of the book, the hero comes to her and says, I know that you know this area, so I want you to show me around, introduce me to some people that might know about this murder that I'm investigating. And in return, I will introduce you to some people who could possibly be patrons for your orphanage to kind of help boost the coffers a little bit. They embark on this journey together, and it's incredibly gritty, it's incredibly dark. You're dealing with a murder mystery, but also their relationship. The heroine, she views the working at the orphanage and working with the children as sort of this like atonement for previous sins and something that she did in her past. And the hero is a very dark lord. He is someone that kind of people avoid and people don't feel entirely comfortable around him, and he is said to be like this notorious rake. And then the last recommendation that I have for you is Abel. This is the first book in Katie Roberts' Sabine Valley series, and this is an incredibly confusing world, so I'm not really going to try to explain. But in the beginning of the book, we have 3 characters. This is Polly. One of our heroes, Abel, participates in a fight, and this is a event that happens where essentially whoever wins the fight gets to choose a partner, a wife, a husband, or whatever, from a rival gang. And he actually picks a rival gang leader and his girlfriend. And there is so much angst in this romance. There is angst between all 3 partners in all of the relationships because the 2 heroes had a previous friendship when they were young, and then there was a lot of betrayal there, and then the heroine has some angst with her current boyfriend because he kind of treats her like a doll and doesn't really see her value. And so there's just angst everywhere, and it's just so much tension and fantasticness, and it has like this pseudo mafia feeling as well to the plot. So outside of that, it just feels very dark and gritty, and it's just all the angst between the 3 is just peak. Those are all of the angsty recommendations that I have for you. Make sure you comment down below if you have read or are planning on reading any of these. I would love to know. But other than that, thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you in my next one.